The wealth you seek is not outside of you. It begins first in the mind, for no man can receive that which he has not first accepted inwardly. Your reality bends itself to the images and convictions you hold most firmly. Money is not elusive. It responds faithfully to the state you occupy within. If you see yourself as one who struggles, life will mirror that struggle. If you see yourself as one who prospers, life will confirm that prosperity. To train your brain for money is not to chase after it, but to align your inner state with abundance. The moment you dare to feel wealthy, to walk and think as one who already possesses, you set in motion unseen forces that draw opportunity, ideas, and circumstances into your path. You are not waiting for riches to appear. You are awakening to the truth that wealth is already present, awaiting your recognition. Every thought is a seed, and money grows from the quality of seeds you plant. If you rehearse lack, you multiply lack. If you rehearse sufficiency, you multiply sufficiency. Your brain learns by repetition, and so the daily practice of imagining yourself abundant, calmly, confidently, joyfully, conditions the mind to accept wealth as natural. Money flows where it is invited, not where it is resisted. To train your brain for money is to release doubt, guilt, or fear, and instead to dwell in the feeling of ease, generosity, and gratitude. See yourself surrounded by wealth, speak as one who already lives in it, and silently affirm, "I am wealth in expression." The brain obeys conviction, and conviction reshapes the world. Wealth begins in the mind long before it appears in the world. What a person repeatedly entertains within their imagination eventually expresses itself as the circumstances of their life. To believe that money is earned only through hard effort or external struggle is to miss the deeper truth. Every outward condition is first conceived inwardly. A thought cherished becomes a belief maintained becomes a state, and that state inevitably crystallizes into the experiences that meet you each day. The mind is the true treasury, and it holds within it the seed of every fortune. When you look at someone living in abundance, you are not simply witnessing the result of luck or chance. You are seeing the outward evidence of an inward conviction. They may not even realize it consciously, but their consistent sense of deserving, of possibility, of confidence in supply has shaped their path. Likewise, the one who constantly dwells on lack, fear, and limitation will encounter endless situations that confirm those ideas. The universe only mirrors back what is most dominant in consciousness. To align with wealth, one must learn to adopt the feeling of already possessing it. This is not idle daydreaming, but a disciplined inner work of assuming the state of abundance until it feels natural. Imagine yourself walking, speaking, and deciding as though prosperity were the most familiar companion of your life. Hold that image with such constancy that it saturates the subconscious. The brain cannot resist repeated impressions. It must yield to them. And when it does, it alters both perception and behavior, opening the way for opportunities that were invisible before. Every thought is a seed planted in the fertile soil of the mind. If you scatter seeds of worry, you will reap experiences that give you more reasons to worry. But if you plant seeds of wealth, gratitude, and expectancy, you will harvest conditions that bring increase. This is why training the mind is not optional for those who desire more. It is the very foundation upon which wealth rests. It is not money that makes one wealthy, but the awareness of abundance that magnetizes money to flow. Identity shapes reality because the way you see yourself determines what you allow, what you pursue, and what you attract. The outer world bends itself to the inner image you carry, and life cannot help but mirror the concept you hold of yourself. If you see yourself as limited, unworthy, or incapable, your reality will present endless confirmations of that belief. If you see yourself as capable, deserving, and abundant, your world will arrange itself to support that vision. The self-concept is not a small thing. It is the silent architect behind every circumstance you meet. Many people attempt to change their lives by working tirelessly on the outside, while never shifting the identity they cling to on the inside. They chase money, relationships, and recognition, but deep within, they still regard themselves as someone who struggles, someone who must beg or strive to be accepted. This contradiction cannot produce lasting results, because reality can only reflect the state you occupy. To experience true transformation, you must first revise the way you see yourself. When you declare within that you are wealthy, not as a hope but as a fact, you begin to think and act from that place. Your choices shift, your confidence grows, and opportunities appear that match this new vibration. It is not a matter of pretending, but of assuming a state until it feels natural. Just as an actor steps into a role, until the performance becomes believable, you too can step into a new identity until life itself responds with proof of its reality. Identity is not fixed, it is chosen. You may have lived years calling yourself average, unlucky, or destined to struggle. But the moment you accept a new self-image, the world must reorganize. The mind is the seedbed of reality, and the identity you water daily with thoughts and feelings will grow strong roots. To see yourself as abundant is to give the universe permission to deliver abundance. To see yourself as powerless is to command life to treat you as powerless. In truth, reality has no choice but to echo your belief. Imagination precedes manifestation, because everything that comes into form must first exist as an image within the mind. Nothing appears in your life that has not already lived in thought. The great buildings, the inventions, the fortunes, the lives of abundance and influence, all of these were once invisible, carried only in the unseen space of imagination. The mind is the workshop, and the world is simply its stage, upon which the hidden rehearsals of thought eventually perform themselves as reality. When you picture yourself in possession of wealth, when you walk through the scenes of success, in the theater of your mind, you are not playing a useless game of fantasy. You are planting the very seeds from which the harvest of your future must grow. Every image that you impress deeply on the subconscious becomes a command to life, and life unfailingly carries it out. It may not unfold in the manner or timing you expect, but it must take shape, for imagination is the blueprint of existence. Most people use imagination unconsciously, dwelling on fear, lack, and limitation. They picture debts, rejection, and failure, and then they are astonished when life faithfully produces those very things. To train the imagination toward abundance is to reverse this unconscious misuse. Instead of rehearsing worry, you rehearse fulfillment. Instead of replaying what you do not want, you enact the scenes of the life you desire until they feel more real than the circumstances around you. The brain does not distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is physically experienced. To the subconscious, both are facts, and it acts upon them with equal conviction. This is why athletes visualize victory, why creators picture their masterpieces before a single stroke is made, and why those who prosper often confess that they saw it long before it happened. Imagination sets the course, and manifestation is simply its shadow. To create with imagination is not to beg life for favors, but to accept the truth of your inner power. When you deliberately assume the scenes of abundance, gratitude, and ease, you signal to life what you are prepared to receive. The outer must follow the inner, and so the wealth you imagine with faith and persistence becomes the wealth you touch with your hands. Thoughts are seeds, and every thought you entertain carries within it the potential to shape your experience. Just as a seed placed in the soil will eventually grow into the tree or flower it was destined to be, so too will a thought planted in the mind grow into conditions, opportunities, and circumstances that match its nature. The soil never questions the seed, it simply brings forth what has been sown. Likewise, life does not question your thoughts, it reflects them without hesitation. When you dwell on lack, fear, or doubt, you are planting seeds that must yield a harvest of struggle. It cannot be otherwise, for each thought produces after its own kind. Yet the moment you choose to sow thoughts of abundance, gratitude, and success, you begin to prepare a very different harvest. The ground of the subconscious is always fertile, always responsive, and it accepts whatever you consistently deposit into it. The danger is not in the occasional passing thought, but in the sustained inner dialogue that becomes habitual. A gardener knows that one careless seed will not overtake a field, but continual sowing of weeds will. In the same way, it is the repeated and accepted ideas that take root in the mind and grow into the structures of your life. To think deliberately is to plant deliberately, and to plant deliberately is to ensure that the life you reap is one of design, not of chance. Every fortune, every innovation, every work of art, every achievement of humanity began as a thought. The wealth you desire cannot appear without first being conceived as an inner image. To see yourself as wealthy, to speak and think from the awareness of abundance, is to drop seeds into the soil of your mind that must eventually push through into visible form. This is the law of growth, unseen beginnings, inevitable unfolding. If you wish to know the future of your life, look to the thoughts you repeatedly nurture today. They are not idle, they are the beginnings of everything. Choose them carefully, for the harvest is certain. Thoughts are not mere passing clouds, they are the seeds of destiny, and the garden of your mind will always yield a crop that resembles the seeds you have sown. Release resistance, for nothing blocks the flow of abundance more than the tension of doubt, fear, or guilt. Money, like every good thing, is drawn to ease, and it retreats from struggle. When you clutch at wealth with desperation, you affirm its absence. When you loosen your grip and rest in the awareness that supply is already yours, you allow it to move freely into your life. Resistance is born from the belief that you must fight for what belongs to you. But creation is not a battle. It is a surrender to the truth that all is already provided. The mind that resists is the mind that separates itself from its own good. You cannot invite wealth while silently insisting it is far from you. You cannot embody abundance while rehearsing thoughts of insufficiency. The more you struggle to make something happen, the more you confirm that it has not yet arrived. But when you relax into trust, when you carry the feeling of already having, the doors swing open with little effort. Releasing resistance is not passivity, it is the highest form of receptivity. Consider the flow of water. It moves effortlessly, seeking the open path. If you place obstacles in its way, it is delayed or diverted, yet it never ceases to move forward. Wealth functions in the same manner. It seeks to reach you, but if the channels of your mind are blocked by fear of not enough, by guilt over having, or by anxiety about losing, then the current slows. Remove the obstructions, and what is yours flows naturally, just as water rushes when the dam is lifted. To release resistance is to replace worry with trust, to shift from striving to allowing. It is the decision to believe that the universe is a place of generosity, not scarcity. It is to stop arguing with the evidence of your senses and to hold fast instead to the inner assurance of abundance. This inner rest is magnetic. It draws people, opportunities, and ideas without strain. The world responds most readily, not to the frantic demand, but to the calm conviction that says, I already am, I already have, I already live in abundance. Conviction creates outcomes because life responds not to weak wishes, but to the certainty of belief. A thought entertained lightly drifts away, but a thought held with firmness sinks deep into the subconscious and demands expression. The world outside bends to the intensity of the inner stance you hold. If you approach wealth as a vague hope, your actions and circumstances will remain uncertain. But if you claim abundance with unshakable conviction, the very fabric of life will align to match that claim. Conviction is the bridge between imagination and manifestation, the fire that gives form to what might otherwise remain invisible. To carry conviction is to move beyond trying. It is to live from the end as though the outcome were already secured. The one who is convinced does not beg or plead. They act and think in harmony with the reality they have inwardly accepted. Their tone, their choices, their demeanor all reflect this inner assurance, and the world cannot help but echo it back. Conviction is magnetic. It draws opportunities, resources, and people into your orbit, not by force, but by the undeniable gravity of belief. Doubt weakens the seed of thought, but conviction nourishes it. Just as a plant will not thrive without steady sunlight, so too will your vision falter without unwavering belief. This is why so many begin with enthusiasm, but abandon their dreams when faced with obstacles. They mistake resistance for impossibility. Yet the one who is convinced is not shaken by appearances. They know that reality must eventually conform to the state they hold most deeply. Time is not the master of conviction. It is merely the servant that delivers the harvest at its appointed hour. Conviction is not loud. It does not require boasting or constant assertion. It is a quiet inner knowing, a steady flame that cannot be extinguished by circumstance. When you train your mind to hold firmly to the reality of wealth, when you saturate yourself with the feeling of already possessing it, conviction grows. From that conviction comes clarity of action, persistence in the face of setbacks, and an unbroken focus on the goal. Eventually, life has no choice but to reflect that inner certainty. For every outcome you experience is nothing more than the echo of the conviction you have carried within. Then let it be known, wealth is not a prize granted by chance, nor is it a possession earned only by struggle. It is the natural outpouring of the state you dare to hold within. If you train your mind to see abundance, if you align your identity with prosperity, if you let imagination carry you beyond the limits of the senses, if you plant thoughts of increase and release all resistance, and if you live with the unshakable conviction that it is already yours, life cannot withhold it from you. The world will rise to meet the image you sustain. Stand, then, not as one who waits, but as one who knows. For the wealth you seek is already within, and the moment you claim it inwardly, it must appear without.